Frank Bonada here, and joining me today is Elise Reed, who takes on Cory McKenna this weekend at the UFC's return to London. How's it going, Elise? Are you all sort of settled to London now?
Yeah. It took yesterday was rough. Yesterday was a rough go, but had a great sleep and yeah, we're ready to get to work on Saturday.
Awesome.
So
Have you been to London or England before at all?
I have. I came with my college roommates like when I was 19. And so obviously the drinking here at age is 18, so we had a blast. I can't say that I was as established in the palette of beer at that point, so I had a lot of seltzers. But yeah, we came here for winter break, so we had New Year's here. It was awesome. It was a great experience. So we're looking to do it again. But yeah.
Yeah, I bet this is a bit of a different experience this time.
Yeah. I can't say that I saw myself coming back here for this, but I don't mind at all.
What's the sort of plan for fight week? I mean, we've got a few days left to go now. Do you, when you come over like internationally, is there like a gym that you do for like, like light workouts and making sure you keep weight? What's the sort of plan?
Yeah, so they hook us up with a room that has mats, so that we can do mitts and all that stuff, and that's what we had in Vegas as well. Actually have a really nice gym here as well. So yeah, it's just really getting shakeouts, right? There's nothing crazy that's gonna happen. It's not like anything that I do now is gonna make a huge difference for fight week outside or for the fight outside of staying loose and staying a little bit active. So it's gonna be a little mitt work, probably a few jogs on the treadmill, but yeah, they got a gym, they got a sauna, so they hooked us up.
Nice. You're
Yeah.
going up against Cory McKenna, Wales's first and only female UFC athlete, which will probably have a big impact on the crowd. But what do you make of her as an opponent? What are you expecting from her?
She's really well-rounded. So I'm expecting her to try to take me down or to go for the takedowns, press up against the cage because she is coming from Uriah Faber's camp. So that's wrestling focused. Plus I'm a striker, so that kind of plays to her game a little bit. And I think this is the first time I have a reach advantage, so it'll be interesting to see if I can use that properly. But yeah, I think she's very well rounded. I think she's obviously a solid opponent. I know that I'm coming into, I would say enemy territory, but I'm not going to be the crowd pleaser. You know what I mean? At least initially. So yeah, so we're just expecting anything and everything, but likely going to be pressed up against the cage and try to be taken down.
Mm-hmm. You just said you're more of a striker, whereas McKenna's more of a grappler. What's your background in martial arts? I don't know if I heard this correctly, but is it a Taekwondo black belt you've got?
It is. I've been doing it since I was a kid. So I started at 6, looked to be a Power Ranger, and unfortunately that didn't work out quite so well. But hey, this is second best, right? No, so technically I have a third degree black belt in Taekwondo. But as everybody knows, I'm not very tall, so I can't say that I really engaged a lot of the kicks that you'd see in Taekwondo as much, at least growing up. I'd always have to close the distance and use hands. So I am a striker. I can kick, but I also can box a little bit just because without having reach advantage outside of this fight, I haven't been able to use kicks as often, so to speak.
Of course. So McKenna's sole fight in the UFC, I think came in 2020, was a very close split decision victory over Kay Hansen that was it split a lot of fans. Did you score it for her? I'm sure you've done some tape now, or did you score it for Hansen?
Yeah, I think when I originally watched it, I want to say that I went with Hansen just because I think that she had a lot of the exchanges. I think she won a lot of the exchanges, and I think she initiated pressure. Cory had some like back and forth. She had some returns in terms of takedowns and taking advantage of the presses up against the cage. But I think my initial reaction was I thought that Kay Hansen won that one. Obviously, looking back, doing tape and all that, you realize that there was a lot of back and forth, which I can see why it went. I don't know if it went split or unanimous, but I know that it was very, very close. It might have been unanimous 29-28 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it was a great fight to watch. I was not thinking at that point that I was going to be fighting Cory, but yeah, when I watched it, it was definitely an exciting fight initially, and going back, there's a lot more back and forth that you can tell.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was the sort of top control from Hansen with the ground strikes of McKenna and all that. Walking out on Saturday, this will be your first UFC fight in front of very sold out
Fans.
Arena. Yeah.
Yeah.
What sort of what are you expecting? And have you done sort of any mental preparation to get you in that mindset for when you're in there?
Yeah. I mean, I think it wouldn't be smart not to. Seeing as I think she's going to be the first UK person on the card that we're fighting, and obviously I'm not from the UK, so I know that it's going to be definitely a different experience. I think the only thing that mimics it a little bit is I've walked into being a huge underdog before, so that won't be much different. If there were crowds, I don't know if I'd necessarily be booed previously, but with COVID, we didn't have any fans there. So yeah, it'll be something. I'm gonna have my headphones in, and I'm gonna just stay focused, because at the end of the day, I think by the end of the fight, I'll win some of those fans over. But yeah, the only two people that matter is her and I. So I have thought about it a little bit. I am expecting not the greatest welcome, but I'm ready to go for sure.
Well, you just sort of mentioned it before, but do you see this as an opportunity in a way to introduce yourselves to fans outside of the US?
Absolutely. I think what I have always looked to do is push the pace, keep it exciting. Like double kicks. Like I think I hit Jasmine once with a round kick, side kick. Never in the game plan was that supposed to happen, right? Never. We never practiced it, but that was just something that I had from my Taekwondo background that I was like, okay, so it's going to work here. And I think I do a lot of that stuff that is unconventional. I think that's been a word that's been passed around recently in terms of training. And I think that's what makes it exciting. And I think I will be able to bring that and showcase much more of what I'm capable of in the 115 division than I have previously. So, I mean, I know that, a lot of fans look at the last fight and it wasn't the best showing, but 125 isn't where I'm supposed to be. So I think this will be kind of my introduction more or less to the 115. I think it'll be an exciting fight for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that UFC debut, which you took on. It was short notice, wasn't it? As well as upper weight class against Esparza, who was just, I think the size disparity was clear as soon as the two of you stepped into the cage. Is there any regret on your part at all for taking a short notice fight, or is it like a risk you were willing to take to get you inside the UFC and establish yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think in my career there probably could have been a safer option. I think a call to the UFC was inevitable at some point, right? Whether it was Contender or something else. I think the following year it would have happened anyways. But I don't have any regrets because again, after that fight, so one, I had no idea what it looked like. It just felt like pressure. Like it looked ridiculous. I think my coach showed it to me on the way to the hospital, and I was like, oh man, that looked a little rough. But I will never be put in a position like that again. So I think I have always been someone that is willing to take opportunities and try to take advantage of those opportunities. And I think that was one that it was like a go big or go home type event, and that's just how I've approached my entire career thus far. And I don't see myself straying from that at all, just because that's who I am as a person, right? If we're gonna push the envelope, we might as well push it as far as we can. And I will tell you, 125 is my limit. I don't think I'll go there again. But no, I don't. I got done with that fight literally on the way to getting my eye checked out, which was completely fine, by the way. It was done in like a few days. But I wasn't as upset as I expected, or I thought I would be, right? Because like I had only lost once before, and I was devastated. But again, I looked at that fight, and I was like, I kept my composure. I was still working the entire time. I mean, for goodness, I was throwing strikes from the bottom of mount. Like, there's any more fucking craziness that could happen. It's doing that against somebody that's 20 pounds heavier than you. So I think I realized that I'm in the right spot. I'm in the right, the right organization. Maybe wasn't in the right division. But no, I don't have regrets. I think that's just been kind of the definition of my career is to take advantage of huge opportunities and to never stray away from them. So again, sometimes I think well, I could have stayed with UFC. I could have gotten another title defense. I could have, but at the end of the day, this path was inevitable. And so I'm always like, let's fucking go. Let's make this happen. So yeah. So no regrets. But you will never see me in the 125 division ever again. So that was a one and done.
It's understandable. In terms of the fight with McKenna, when you sort of, visualize it in your head, the mental game is a big part of MMA. But what sort of outcome, what is your route to victory? What do you imagine, the reason your hand being raised at the end of it is?
So I think being able to see it. I think the best MMA fighters can adapt and see opportunities when they're there. So I try not to get, like, in terms of mentally, I walk myself all the way up to the touch and the few seconds after that. But after that, if we start figuring exactly what's going to happen, then sometimes you get too caught up in exactly what you think is supposed to happen and you can't see anything else. So I think seeing it, I think being able to push my pace without giving her an opportunity to get those takedowns or get close is going to be a huge thing. And then even if it were to hit the ground, I can capitalize on my striking and ground and pound. So I think just being able to keep my eyes open and seeing it, there's nothing else better that could happen. And if that happens, I think there will be a finish. I think that I have a lot of skills to rely on to be able to get that, especially striking wise.
Got it. And then, yeah, if especially the finish, if that does materialize, do you plan to jump on the mic and call anyone out or anything like that, or is it?
I mean, I did talk about going big and going home, right? So no, I mean, we will come as quickly as we can back into the octagon. That's been something that we've discussed already. That I'm never out of shape. I'm gonna stay at the 115. So definitely jumping on and letting the UFC know that I'm game to go again tomorrow. In terms of calling anybody out, not necessarily. Am I afraid of anybody? Not necessarily. I think the 115 division is very deep. I think there's a lot of skilled fighters in the 115 division. But I also think that given just keeping your eyes open in the cage and using the skills that you have, I think that I have some solid skills to rely on. A lot of fans haven't seen it yet, but I'm not necessarily afraid of anybody. So I think it would just be getting back into the cage as quickly as possible and building my following a little bit, and then I get a few finishes and I'll start calling people out. But I don't need to put that target on my back quite yet. I think that'll happen in itself.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Like you say, the 115 division right now, yeah, it is probably the deepest women division in the UFC. At the very top of the pack is Rose, of course, who is set to be taking on Carla Esparza. I don't think we've got a
Yeah.
set date for it yet, but that's the fight that's going to happen. Who do you see winning that fight? How do you see it playing out?
I see Rose. I mean, being a 115 in the UFC right now, it's like I'm a fan and I'm also a competitor. I love Rose. I think Rose has that ability to see and capitalize on moments and opportunities. And I think her striking is just too good. I do think that against Weili, the ground game was shown a little bit. I think Carla probably has a better ground game. But I think I'm a little biased as well. I like striking more than I do like grappling. So I wish Rose the best, because if she's the best and she can keep it standing, then I have a shot. But I think it'll be Rose. I think Carla's striking has gotten better, but I think the game plan is always going to be the same, where Carla's going to try to take her down and Rose is going to try to stand up. And I think she had it before, and I think she's going to continue to, you know what I mean? She already went against Carla before. I think she's going to be able to solidify it with Carla. So
just one last question from me then, and I'll let you go.
No worries.
What are your thoughts on that? It's probably not going to happen in the near future, but there is always talk of a potential atomweight division.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I get your thoughts on just the concept of that inside the UFC?
So I would love an atomweight division. I have been, and I'm not complaining at all, because it's meant I've had huge meals, and like being a fighter at 115 is a lot of fun for me, because I can, indulge in ice cream every so often. But I think for me, an atomweight division is definitely feasible. I think the issue that probably the UFC has is, one, there's not as many fighters, right? So pulling up, they're kind of having that issue with 125, which is crazy, because 125 is everywhere, and the regional and amateur circuit. But finding good 125ers, I think it's a little bit tougher. Like Valentina has a huge monopoly on that division, right? There's nobody that can pretty much touch her. I think with the atomweight, it's similar to like a men's flyweight, where the speed is there, the technique has to be there, but unless you have really strong, 105s, it's going to end up being a division where there's it looks like a sparring match from the outside, when realistically it's very, very technical and skilled, but you don't have that entertainment, right? Like the heavyweights, God bless them, they just try to get themselves ready so they can do 15 minutes straight, right? 25 if you really like, right? You know what I mean? Like by 5 minutes, if they're throwing everything they got, oh goodness, there's going to be a lot of wrestling going on. And I think as a heavyweight, that's probably what they're trying to get. They're trying to get more people that are a little bit, it's just what happens, right? So I would love a 105. I would love to be able to show the UFC that 105 can be exciting. Like I've dropped people at 105. I don't think there's enough exciting 105ers out there for the UFC to say, like, I need that. I hope it happens, but if not, I'll be sticking to my 3,000 calorie diet, so I'll be all right.
Yeah, it's one for the future, maybe. There are people at the top of the division, like I think Marina Rodriguez recently mentioned that she'd be up for it. But yeah, who knows? Anyway, thank you so much, Elise, for coming on. I really appreciate it. If there are any like social media plugs or shout outs to sponsors you'd like to give, feel free.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So obviously, my school is Kickside, coach is John Canabay. Recently hooked up with Chow Meals, which is a veteran organization for meal preparation. They are really solid guys. And I have a friend from Australia, the Muscle Nerds. Luke is my strength and conditioning. But outside of that, it's just a tiny team of very dedicated individuals that are ready to go to work on Saturday. So I appreciate your time as well, Frank. It's always good to get on with some interviews and answer some questions.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure to have you on. Thank you for your time and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you very much.